Businesses in the TMT sector are growing fast. They're at the bleeding edge of the new economy, and they, and perhaps they alone, are keeping the UK's reputation for innovation alive. But, and it's a big but for many people in the room today, to what extent does property matter to them? That's what we're here to find out.
An expert panel gathered in London to discuss the property needs of the burgeoning technology, media and telecommunications sector in front of 100 invited guests. This TMT forum, held in association with BNP Paribas Real Estate, which produced some insightful research on the matter, was an important opportunity for dialogue between occupiers, investors, developers and agents.
Over the last 2.5 years, how the proportion of take-up of space in central London has changed. And you can see TMT escalating from 15% to nearly 30%. And my colleagues in research show that Q3 in London was very similar to the first half of this year, whereas financial services dropping like a stone. Yes, I think
so the TMT sector is growing and it will continue to grow. The research forecasts demand for office space from the sector to reach 4.65 million square feet by the end of 2015. However, when it comes to what kind of space, they have a fairly specific set of needs, with transport links, rent levels and location the top priorities.
Prime consideration is our employees, because being a digital business, we host very few client meetings. We don't have to project ourselves and project an image out to visitors, so front of house has no real relevance to us at all. But to build a nice, self-contained working environment for staff that's got good access to facilities, great options for lunch, and I do think the word hangout is very apt. That feels that it's got a sense of place is really important.
But it's not just developers who must think outside the box. Investors may need to change their game plan too.
10 or 20 years ago, the beach used to be, as you like, an analogy for the media sector, used to be full of a lot of big rocks, and that was the likes of Reed Elsevier or WPP or Aegis. And now those big rocks have effectively broken up, and you're no longer looking at a big rock that you can say, well, it'll be there for the next 100 years. It's actually pebbles. And a lot of these businesses we're looking at here have a life cycle. It's no longer 10 or 20 years. It's measured more in months, and that is a real challenge for people. People have to be prepared to take more risk. They'll take a greater return on that risk, but go up the curve and say, I'll invest in 5 companies. I expect 2 to do very well, 1 to do averagely, and 2 to do very poorly. And that's what's tending to happen more in the US and needs to happen more here.
The honeypot for this rapidly expanding corner of the economy is undisputably London. Those who were surveyed for the report cited the capital's star attractions as the business opportunities, being nearer to clients, its transport links and the talent it breeds.
One of the unique things about London is in a time where an economy is faltering, shrinking, flatlining, whatever you wish to describe it as, work will tend to dry up and the ambitious will come to London. London still has this sort of, the streets are paved with gold sort of view. So London always seems to do slightly better during a recession because the talent sort of pours into it during that time.
Events like this are a great step towards promoting dialogue between the various parties, and as this graphic demonstrates, it's necessary. TMT firms' expectations of London rents are out of kilter with today's prime rents. And there are other issues when you consider an industry as static as property. For the TMT sector, which is a rather more dynamic beast, flexibility is king.
I think it's horses for courses, really. I think that's why tech hubs, trampories, all of these flexible co-working spaces have got a place in London. And then as they slightly mature, you should have more access to more flexible arrangements. But I also think if you develop a large building, it could take 10 years from the time that you think about it to the time that you get planning and build it. So they're quite expensive, static products. I think the challenge is within that, actually trying to promote flexibility, layering of flexibility for small, medium and large organisations. I don't think one size fits all.
If you're trying to expand your business, sometimes you need to take a place that's much larger. One of the things I would kind of ask you guys to consider with your tenants is subletting, is the idea of enabling co-work spaces to exist alongside major tenants. Interesting models along this could be beneficial for both business and for your bottom line.